Do you have like a musical intro? Because it's another episode.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Is it no role models? Okay, don't. Wait.
Jesus. No role models here right now. No role models to speak of.
I guess that's the intro for this week. That
I was
scared
actually
me.
going to say, if you're trying to make it up to 25, you gotta have 25 birthday parties.
That was bad.
That's good. That's actual lyrics.
From The College Dropout, not to be confused with
You
A
can
College
tell he
Dropout.
dropped out of college.
What do you mean to Kanye's?
A college dropout.
He has 3 kids. He doesn't need your bullshit.
Yeah, we can't write songs. I'm just kidding. I love you, Kanye.
We love you, Kanye.
I really do. Anyway, welcome to the Anthony Todd Show. I'm your host, Trevor, aka the new Splatoon 2 DLC trailer song Slaps, aka Big Willie style on vinyl, aka my beautiful dark twisted Nintendo Switch.
I like that one.
Thank you.
I'm proud of that one.
I'm joined today by my ever-attended co-host, my best friend, my pal, my amigo, Vincent, aka Lil Yachty is voicing the Green Lantern in Teen Titans Go. For serious, I seriously mean
Why
that.
did I not hear this?
I seriously mean that.
In the movie?
No, well, I don't know. In something, he is voicing the Green Lantern.
I don't even like Teen Titans Go, but I'll watch it now.
I want to see
My
it.
sister fucking loves that show. I'll watch it with her. Just so I can see Little
I want to
Yachty.
see Lil Yachty.
And I'll be like...
CeeLo Green's in that show. At one point, yeah. AKA The Godfather is just a really long Olive Garden commercial. AKA Break is about when Ben folds 2 taco party packs from Taco Bell.
I don't think that's what it's about.
Yes, it
Pretty
is.
sure it's about abortion?
No, it's not. He's passing a bowel movement.
This is episode 30 of the Anthony and Todd Show, an episode we would like to call...
I didn't come up with a title.
Ooh, think of something really fast.
We'll get it at the end.
We'll get it at the end. Okay, we'll come back to it. We'll come up with a catchy title at the end.
We've got another great show planned
Stacked
for
show
everybody
for
today.
this week
Absolutely.
for a 30th episode, a big milestone, but it's kind of like our 20th where we're just like forgetting to do something super important. This week we just have a lot of marquee releases that are important to us. And of course, The College Dropout.
It was pretty top notch.
Pretty top
If I
notch.
do say so. So like I said, we're reviewing 4 projects. We're gonna dive into one of my favorite bands right now. Nathaniel Rateliff and the Night Sweats with Tearing at the Seams. Absolutely adored their first album. That was probably my favorite album of 2015.
Better than To Be a Butterfly?
I was thinking about that the other night.
It's not in my opinion. Like, it's not even fucking close.
It's not bad. Okay, it's my second favorite then. It is To Pimp a Butterfly, Nathaniel Rateliff, Sound and Color.
Hey, that's right. That's there. Hey.
It's behind me.
Yeah.
I knew
I forgot
Brittany
that
Howard
came-
was watching me, so that was a stacked year. That was
Yeah.
just great.
Yeah. They all sat on each other's shoulders. Brittany Howard was at the base.
It's like a totem pole. Our albums are like a totem pole. All the groups like get on top of each
Yeah,
other.
I think-
it's like unfortunately Brockhampton was like there's like 14 members all in one like space. So everybody underneath them was just kind of like
Suffering.
yeah, they were not having a fun time.
But like Brittany Howard, I bet could support Nathaniel Rateliff on her shoulders. She's a thick gal.
Yeah, and anybody could pick up Kendrick Lamar with their pinky fingers. So.
He's like, we're taller than him, right?
Yeah,
We can beat him up.
yeah,
Just
that's how
us
it
two.
works.
Us two versus him. Yeah, we could
we'd
beat him
take
up.
him down.
But like, I don't think I would be able to. I'd be like, I respect you too much. You made To Remember 5, one of the 3 albums I think are
Just
perfect.
remember that he made Damn too.
But like, damn, it's like still an 8 in my book, even though it pisses me off. Yeah. Okay.
We're gonna be delving into Young Father's new album, Coco Sugar.
How young are these fathers?
They're like 13 years old. They were on Dr. Phil last year. I mean, they're doing better.
These young fathers are just too young. Too young fathers.
We need to revise the law. No more fathers.
No more
Ever.
no more fathers to speak of.
No.
Jesus Christ.
Next we're gonna We're gonna get sent to detention with Albert Hammond Jr.'s Francis Trouble.
Dude, I love Damon
Bad
Albarn
Francis.
Jr.
Bad Francis. I love Damon Albarn. And then we're going to Kraus's new album, Path, which has some of the most boring album artwork I've ever seen.
No, I actually like the album art.
It's boring.
Do not really care for the album, but like the album art.
There's nothing cool on it.
It literally looks like album art I would make.
Next, we're also going to go into Kanye West's College Dropout, the first album, the first studio album he's made. And unfortunately, everything is spelled incorrectly. And then one of the songs is literally just him reading aloud a letter to his professor. It's like an email from his professor that was like, class is canceled today. And he was like, dude, sweet.
Did we listen to the same album?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we did. So let's dive into this, baby.
Okay, we started with these young fathers.
They're
just too young.
I'm calling their mom. Young Fathers are a band from Edinburgh, Scotland.
Trio from Edinburgh, Scotland.
Well, whatever, trio band. There were 3 members in this band. Cocoa Sugar's their 3rd album. Fun fact, their first album, Dead, actually won the Mercury Award in 2014. This is a really highly esteemed award, also won by the likes of Benjamin Clementine, Skepta, Sampha, last year actually, James Blake, Alt J, PJ Harvey, Franz Ferdinand, Arctic Monkeys. A lot of big names have been winning these awards, and quite honestly, acts that I enjoy.
Yeah, usually I don't care for the short list, but like usually the right one wins. The only time I was unsure about that is Skepta. Skepta's last
It's just funny going from It's funny going from Benjamin Clementine, Skepta, and then Sampha.
But like Skepta, I didn't really care for Konnichiwa.
I think it's very culturally significant.
Like Grime's fucking huge over there now.
Yeah,
and it's gonna I feel like it's
everybody's super dirty.
Yeah, Grime over there is basically trap for us. Well, they have trap, but it's like
it's just not.
It's called their
grime is our southern trap.
Yeah, their Skepta and Wiley are our Migos, which I don't know.
I prefer Skepta.
Honestly, I would take Stormzy, who I don't even care for that much, over Migos any fucking day of the week.
Stop Migos 2K18.
Hashtag.
Never forget it.
And then we're gonna have to also strap Travis Scott before he starts. Just like.
We've got to strap him down. We're going to have a good talking to and say,
you're too young of a father.
Don't make this album bad. You cannot have a kid.
Or else I'm going to put you on a bucking bronco and send you back to the rodeo.
You are done for. So yeah, Young Fathers, Cocoa Sugar. In an interview with The Guardian, they actually said they were trying to create more normal music. And they used a lot more like hooks and melodic lines, which quite honestly, like I liked Young Fathers' earlier discography, which I've since delved into upon, I guess, knowing this was on the schedule.
Yeah.
And I guess I had no problem with them delving into normal music because I still feel like they put their own flair into everything that they do. It has still really weird production, and they kind of they delve into pop and hip hop sounds, but they flip the entire idea on their heads and make these really bizarre sounding tracks that still kind of have the core spirit of these genres, but in a Young Fathers flavor.
Speaking of some of the previous discography, the project I've listened to pieces of Dead. I'm most familiar with White Man or Black Man 2. I like that album overall, but like some of my problems with it is just there's some tracks I just couldn't vibe with. Whether it was I felt like the production just didn't match some of the performances, or I thought the songwriting was a little bit too weird and didn't really have a purpose. But I think their vocal performances are what that made that album so great. But there's like you take songs like 27 and Shame. Shame's a brilliant track. It's just so beautiful. Rain or Shine's an excellent moment on that album, and I was interested going into this because I like the track in my view, and there's a couple other singles that were released. I know I think was it Gospel, I always forget Lord and Jack Antonoff. That was the name of the track.
I love that
the track Lord, which when I heard it last year when it was released, I was kind of unsure about it because it reminded me of the track Only God Knows, which is the track they did for the Trainspotting 2 album, which I really enjoyed that track a lot.
I forgot they did that.
But it was their attempt at making a gospel track, and I thought it worked out really well. Whereas Lord was like the slower version of that, where it wasn't as groovy, where it wasn't as punchy, and I felt it kind of like lost itself. In the context of this album, I liked that track more, but I was still kind of like unsure how this album was going to sound. I didn't really listen to Toy before that came on the project. I knew that was released as a single, but I wanted to listen to this thing in full because I knew it was going to be I knew I was going to be kind of like, I wanted to listen to it how it sounded as an album, and as an album I think it flows well together pretty well. Vocal performances, anytime they rap, it's fucking amazing. Their vocal performance rapping are great. Their hooks, the ones that aren't super choiry or gospel-y, I think actually play out well. You mentioned Toy. Broken Little Toy reminds me of a lot of the moments I liked on White Man or Black Man too. And overall, the vocal performances are the strongest thing. Production is what I just can't vibe with. I feel like there's just too many just kind of like basic production choices. The keys I don't really vibe with that much on this album. Like the 808s that show up I really don't vibe with. When it gets more into like a deeper electric instrumental basis, like some of their previous work does, I think it works out way better. But when it's going for a more slower emotional track like See How, I really do not care for that track. Nothing wrong with it personally. I do think the vocal performances stand out a ton, but production-wise, it just doesn't do anything for me. I have some problems with Fee-Fi. Fee-Fi starts off with just a ridiculously stupid hook, and I don't think it's able to keep that intensity in its like songwriting throughout the entire track. I think its vocal performances, that's the one where like I expected to be utterly insane, but I'm kind of disappointed in the end. But there's, again, some tracks I really enjoy. I like the track, In My View, My Belly Underwater.
That's a really good one.
I think he actually says, put my belly on a woman, I'm barely underwater. I forget what he says, but like...
It doesn't make any sense.
None of this album really makes that much sense, but like I think, again...
That's kind of what the point was kind of just to turn pop music into their own thing.
And one thing I don't want to forget, the fucking album art to this...
It's scary.
It's so weird. Like, that's what makes iconic.
Do you remember, for anybody, do you remember at the end of Rugrats when the Classy Supo logo came on and there was that like really creepy robot that was like Classy Supo? Yeah, that's what this reminds me of.
Can you show me what it looks like?
Yeah, this thing.
I don't know if it reminds me of that. I actually put it on visual for you YouTube watchers, but yeah, I don't get that from this. But I do like the album art. I think it does take a huge risk. It's very strange looking. It's like very contemporary modern art, very surreal. Really enjoy it. But again, I mentioned kind of what this album suffers for. Again, production-wise is his biggest complaint, and the fact that it has a lot of these catchy hooks, but I don't feel like on some tracks it's able to like really use them all the way. What do you personally enjoy about this album?
Really, I just like I've said a couple times now, I really just like how they made pop music their own. They made what is often seen as like an overdone genre into something completely new and completely unconventional. Songs like In My View, that's my favorite track on the album. But I also like things like Border Girl, that's completely off the wall. It doesn't really fit with anything else, but it still works really well. Tremolo, wow, it's so stupid, but it's fun. Tracks like Toy, it reminds me of Devo,
yeah,
a new wave artist.
Yeah. When are we gonna start the Trevor's New Wave corner?
Probably after the Kanye corner.
Okay, so in 4 months.
Yeah, it's gonna be a while.
Yeah,
we've got a lot of big ideas here.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just really like, as I've said like before and time again, I'm just a sucker for like good, strange production.
Yeah, and I feel like another complaint I have with this album, the track Picking You, I feel like it's just kind of a lackluster closer. It doesn't.
It's definitely a disappointing closer.
I think it's just, it shouldn't have been there. I think Toy was so much a better moment. Actually, in all honesty, I think Lord would have been a perfect closer. Like, I feel like that would have just been a great closer, and it being in the middle of the album, I like it, but, like, I feel like it would have just been amazing. I do not really care for Picking You that much. It just doesn't... It's just kind of too much of the same that we've already kind of heard. Don't really care for it. But personal tracks, I do like on this album. I like Fee-Fi for the most part. I like In My View. I like Turn. I like Trembolo, how they make reference to the highs and your lows life having importance, and then they also use the Trembolo effect, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's really cool.
I like Wow, Border Girl, Holy Ghost, Wire, I think is cool. There's some good moments on here.
There's a lot of really good moments.
I think of this project as like a cohesive piece. It's hard for me to like differentiate tracks from each other because like I think it's just a blur for me. More than a lot of other albums that I've listened to this year. I think it just fits well together as an album. Very cohesive, as I mentioned again, except for I think Picking is just a weak moment to end out on. But everything flows well together. I like their weird songwriting. I like their vocal performances, even though I feel like on some tracks they're just not able to deliver as well as I think they did on some White Man or Black Men too. But other than that, some of the production on Weak, See How, easiest example of that. Picking You, also another example of that. Just like I feel like some of the sounds just get reproduced over and over again. I feel like I hear a lot of the piano over the course of the album. It doesn't really ruin some of these tracks because I think the vocal performances and the songwriting make up for that. Make up for some of the like production I personally do not care for. And sometimes there's some like fucking slamming production, like on the track Holy Ghost. I think that's just insane and out there. But yeah, I do like this album, and I think overall it needed to be just a little bit better produced. It needed to be better produced. That's my biggest problem. And I think the songwriting can also improve. I think it is very strange and out there, but at the same time, I don't know what they're talking about on a lot of these subjects. So you run into kind of like They Might Be Giants territory, which is a good thing and a bad thing.
Yeah.
It's, you can take it or leave
Lifetime
it.
Achievement
Award. Say it before I say it again. But, yeah, I'm left wanting more from this project, but I did get a fill. I think this album's going to grow on me as time goes on. This is the one I'm most excited to listen to in the future. Like, not the artist, but this album in particular, because I feel like I haven't really experienced this in full yet. I've listened to this like 5 times at this point. I think I need to listen to it a couple more. Like, I just feel like I haven't experienced this enough. I do like this project. Overall, I'm going to give this an 8.3 out of 10. Did like it. I just wanted more.
Nice. Yeah, I was actually going to give it an 8.25. It's really solid, and there's a lot to digest here. If the lyrics are about anything, I don't know yet.
Yeah.
I've got to dive more into it. And I feel like there's just like a lot of musical elements that are all happening at the same time that I am probably missing a lot of things. Yeah. That's just kind of one of the joys of re-listening to
projects like this.
Yeah, projects like this is there's always something new that you pick up on for every listen through. Yeah. I'm definitely excited to pick it up like in the future.
Yeah. Okay, there we go. Those were some young fathers.
Those were young.
Just too young.
Glad that they went on TV and talked about their problems here. Next, we're going to be talking about Denver-based rock band Nathaniel Rateliff and the Night Sweats with their new album, Tearing at the Seams. Tearing at the Seams is their second album. As I've already talked about, their first album is it's honestly one of my favorites of all time. I think To Pimp a Butterfly is the better album of 2015. But Nathaniel Rateliff holds a special place in my heart that makes it just one of my all-time favorites.
My first introduction to Nathaniel Rateliff, I remember we were driving to Wright State for one of the first times ever. We're young college lads who haven't really experienced college yet, and we're excited to go and learn. And you're like, we're pulling the Taco Bell parking lot, and I was like, "Did you hear this new Macklemore track?" I was talking about Downtown, which is
Downtown used to be good. All right.
It was okay. It still is okay. It's one of Macklemore's better tracks, in all honesty. But he was like, there's this track where it's like, it has like a southern inspiration to it. It's kind of like southern gospel inspiration to it. And I was like, what? It's called like Son of a Bitch. And I'm like, wait, it's called Son of a Bitch and they played it on the radio? He's like, yeah. I'm like, I don't think that's how radio works. And apparently it is. Apparently you can say
Thank
Son
you,
of a Bitch.
WNKU.
But
I miss you forever in my heart.
But you introduced me to the track SOB, Son of a Bitch, and I was hooked by this, just again, Nathaniel Ratcliffe's Southern Gospel style inspiration, like his Southern Gospel inspired roots. I would say at least that's the mindset it gave me. But I listened to their last record.
It was self-titled.
Yeah, I thought it was. I was trying to think of a name for a second, but nothing came. And my biggest problem, personally, I know we have two different opinions about this, but I do like tracks like Son of a Bitch and Let Go. I think moments like that are really... I think the more energetic moments on the album are what makes it so good, the hyper moments on the album. But when I feel like when it tries to like slow down a little bit, I think it just loses me, personally. And that was my major problem with that last album. And with this new album, Tearing at the Seams, it's the same issue. I feel like this album is too much... just too slow for its own good. I think... not like, I don't hate any of these tracks.
No, I know.
But like, I feel like this album is just... I'm not going to say too much of the same, because I think there is enough variation to make it different, but it is too slow. I wish moments popped up more here and there. And two of my personal favorite moments on the album, the two bonus tracks that pop up in the end that are a little bit more energetic, are just bonus tracks. They're on the deluxe edition.
Yeah.
And I feel like they would have fit in to add some like momentum to certain moments on this album. But... this album, it is well crafted. I do like the production. I like Nathaniel Ratcliffe's voice, and the lyrics are not that bad, but they're nothing super to write a stick about, in my personal opinion. But his performance is good. It's solid throughout. Production's solid throughout. Nothing really to complain about. But the end, I just felt like I was just kind of like lost. I felt like there's just too much of the same style being presented, or too much of the same atmosphere, too much same in the mood. I felt like it was just kind of hard to, not hard to swallow, but it was just hard to like consciously pay attention to, personally, for me. Again, I really enjoyed the production. I enjoyed Nathaniel Ratcliffe's voice, and I wish there was more I liked about this album. But the end, I don't think this is a bad project by any means, but I just don't think there's enough to make it as good as I think Nathaniel Ratcliffe has the potential to be. I think he can be he can be up there with like Angel Olsen as like someone in that figure of like indie rock.
Oh, for sure. I think
like,
so.
I feel like since he moves at a slower speed, which I'm not saying you can, but like the major hit SOB from the last project, that's what got him in. And not to say You Worry Me is like not as big as a hit, because I really do personally enjoy that track. I think that's like an excellent track on this album, but I don't think any of the other tracks on this album can hold like a note to a lot of the tracks that are on the self-titled.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think this is bad by any means. I do like it, and this is another project I feel like I want to go back and listen to more. But in the end, I'm kind of just left wanting more. Same thing from Young Fathers, but this, I feel like there's Young Fathers, I know have it. I feel like they're just a little bit off. Nathaniel Ratcliffe, I think, is just off tonality wise. I feel like he needs to brighten up a little bit on certain tracks, or just take it down a different route for a minute or two. Just do something different to surprise me, because I feel like this is kind of paint by numbers at times, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's like, it's good, but this is like honestly what I expected. Like, it did not surprise me, which it's nice that it's what I was expected, but I was also expected to be a little bit disappointed by that too, because I was a little bit disappointed by self-titled. So I don't know. I do like this project. I'm gonna let you go on your rant, because you're one of your favorite groups, so you can talk about whatever you want. So
All right.
I'm gonna sit over here and drink my water.
So on the first go around with Tearing at the Seams, I was a little disappointed. And then I realized why. And I think it was because I was expecting another self-titled. Like I said, like I love this album to death, but I guess I had to really look inside and say Tearing at the Seams is not the self-titled. It never will be. But the second time I listened to that with that in mind, and the third time and the fourth time, I enjoyed it immensely more. Rateliff's he's not afraid to experiment with new sounds on the album. The self-titled album I found was very sonically similar. Always hit with this kind of like rockabilly blues anthems, with really catchy melodies, well-written lyrics. But Tearing at the Seams like takes inspiration from like the 50s, 60s, 70s type music, but from different artists. So Nathaniel Rateliff, I think, was obviously inspired by artists like Otis Redding or John Fogerty and Creedence Clearwater Revival. I think those are huge inspirations for him.
You know what this reminded me of? Who died like Sharon Jones? I don't know why it reminded me a lot of Sharon Jones. I don't know why.
Yeah, Sharon Jones and the Dap Kings.
Yeah, I think her last album, her actual last album she did with Dap Teens, not just like last in general. But
Yeah.
Her last posthumous album, Silver Woman, it gives me similar feels to this record, because that record I felt like it was kind of paint by numbers in my personal opinion. Not that I think it was bad, but it just gave me that similar feel. Maybe this is just like gospel inspired or southern inspired, I would say. Just maybe makes
it's Southern Fried Rock.
And maybe that just sound just gives me that feel, but like I feel like there's not enough risks on both of those projects. Personally, I know some people really love that Sharon Jones album, and you have a chance to, because I think there are some great moments on that project. And if you want to love this project too, I'm not going to complain, because there are some great moments. Nathaniel Rateliff, fantastic artist, but I feel like he's just like, there needs to be more. And I'm gonna let you continue because I cut you off there.
Okay. I guess as far as sound goes, Rateliff's obviously inspired by artists like James Brown or Ray Charles that aren't. They're present in the first album, but they are not as prominent. Does Tearing at the Seams sound different? Absolutely. But is it a bad thing in my opinion? No. Self-titled was very upbeat, very in your face, very fun. Like, let's all go to a hoedown kind of thing. But this Tearing at the Seams is more laid back and introspective, very somber, I think is a good word to describe it. I've read interviews, I've read more into the album just because like I personally enjoy it. And Nathaniel Rateliff is talking about the Night Sweats was like his last ditch effort into music. He had like struggled with alcoholism, struggled with kind of a broken family. His best friend and co-founder of the album has like cancer and wasn't doing well for a long time. I feel like Tearing at the Seams is kind of an introspective look on Nathaniel Rateliff's life during those times. Self-titled is full of really feel-good music and kind of delves into some slower territory sometimes, which I personally like just as much as the upbeat tracks. But Tearing at the Seams is more of the kind of the down low tracks, more of Nathaniel Rateliff's life, quite literally tearing at the seams, hence the name of the album. A couple of exceptions.
Name of the closing track.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I forgot about that. A couple of exceptions here. Intro track Shoe Boot is very like saxophone kind of bayou feel almost. Yeah. It reminds me of like you're playing music floating down the Mississippi River.
Yeah, I know that's more upper beat tracks, but honestly, that's one of my least favorite. I don't know why. I just feel like
there's not. I mean, I don't think there's like a lot of lyrics, but it reminds me a lot of like just an R&B track. Another example of that is Intro, which is that was actually recorded all with one mic. Everybody in the same room recording with one mic. Dope. They try like really, really cool things, I think. But I just think that his voice carries this album more than his band does. Yeah. And I think that they had a very equal part on the last album, but it's more Rateliff himself kind of
in actual night sweats.
Yeah, he's sweating, he's singing, and he definitely gives a reason of why it's his namesake on the cover of this album and in the front of the band's name, and why he's the leader. Tracks like You Worry Me, the lead single, very prominent drums and guitar riff. I'm alright today.
I was hoping you're gonna do that.
Super catchy, but the very ending of it, you worry me, you worry me. I love it. Drives the song.
When were we starting our southern rock band?
I would love to be in a southern rock band. I love that rockabilly like style.
Dude.
There's just something in me that loves like this southern fried kind of rock sound.
You know, who's one of my favorite country artists right now, and I feel like would collaborate really well with
Chris Stapleton.
No, JPEG Mafia. JPEG Mafia. Veteran was a country album, according to JPEG Mafia.
Yeah, so was Young Thug's latest album.
I would actually count that a country.
I hate you. Chris Stapleton would do really well in this. I was going to get into that later.
In all honesty, if there was a JPEG Mafia Nathaniel
I would definitely listen to
I feel like that would be like the best thing ever. Just imagine, Germs, but with Nathaniel Ratcliffe. There's no shame. You can't take, but it's actually Nathaniel Ratcliffe. Wouldn't that be dope?
I would definitely listen to that.
Nathaniel Ratcliffe do the remixes.
Another really high point I was telling you about is possibly one of my favorites. Still Out There Running, toward the end. It's just very somber, introspective. It's about changing and how your loved ones and lover might not see you the same way if you ran away and never came back, or even if you left for a short period and they just saw you in a different light when you came back. It's just Nathaniel Ratcliffe over a really like haunting guitar. The rhyme scheme is something that really caught my ear. The lyrics really caught my ear. Just really somber. It's a late night when you want to get in your feels kind of track, and I really like what he's done with such a minimalistic style. Again, really shows why his name is on the cover of this album. Is it all good? Definitely not. And you talked about it a little bit. A lot of the tracks use this kind of fade out technique that was used on the last album. I think that's kind of just a pitfall that some artists kind of land into, where they're just like, I don't really know how to end the song, so we're just going to fade it out and act like it's playing forever. Minor nitpick, it seems really lazy to me, but I know that the band's not lazy.
Yeah.
I know that they're constantly coming up with like new material, and I know that they are still actually like playing their instruments and doing really well at it too. And the songs really aren't as catchy as the songs on the self-titled, like, I have to admit. But they're growing on me every day, of course. And then one of my biggest problems, I think, was Coolin' Out, one of the tracks on here.
Yeah, Coolio, that's my least favorite track.
I hate Coolio. I'm just kidding. I have 2 Coolio albums.
Do you?
It Takes a Thief and Gangsta's Paradise.
Did I buy one of those for you?
Yeah, it's Gangsta's Paradise. It doesn't have a cover. You made it yourself. Yeah, you made it. You made the cover.
I don't remember.
Yeah, you made it for me for my birthday. But anyway, Coolin' Out, I think, was a cut track from the first album, or at least like the first finished track from this album, or somewhere on, like, in the EP that they released in between, because like I remember it from somewhere, and I just like didn't really like it. It doesn't really fit in. And then he collaborates with this girl named Lucius on a couple of tracks, but like, get her out of there. Seriously, she brings nothing to the table, in my opinion. And when I said Chris Stapleton would be a great collaborator
with JPEG Mafia,
with Nathaniel Ratcliffe, that would be outstanding. I don't understand why they're not collaborating, because that would get him into this rock scene, or even the country scene, or even an artist like Sturgill Simpson, I think, would do really well.
Oh yeah, that'd be dope
with the Night Sweats. So yeah, I think that there are some problems with Tearing at the Seams. It's not everything that I knew and loved about the self-titled first album that like just captures my heart to this day. But I think that it has the potential to do so. I just have to. I think it needs to be looked at in a different light than the first album, because it's not. It's more introspective, more somber, and just honestly more haunting, I think. So I enjoyed it. Admittedly, like, not as much as the first one, and I think I'm gonna have to give it, like, just talking about it makes me remember how much I really enjoyed it. I'm gonna have to give this one an 8.25, I think.
Overall, just a little bit too somber for my personal taste. But I feel like I want it at the end. It left me wanting more, and I don't like that feeling that from an album. Unless I feel like, I don't know. Yeah, I don't like feeling that from an album, and I feel like overall this is just not. It's more what I was expecting, but I was also expecting it not to be that good overall. I don't think this album's bad. I do like it. I do think the production's good for the most part. I do think Nathaniel Ratcliffe's performance is good. I do think the songwriting is good. It's not super amazing or out there or anything, but I think he does have a lot of personal edge to it. And overall, it's not as good as Self-Titled, and it's not super catchy or anything like that, but I do overall like the style. It flows well together, and I do like the performances on it. I'm going to give it 7.5. I do like it.
Nice.
I think more can be given overall.
So what's my track record on albums and artists that I've introduced you to?
What is your track record? I don't even remember. Like this and Chicano Batman. Is there any others?
Doom.
Doom was like a classic one from like high school.
Heck yeah, dude.
But yeah, I guess you have a track record.
It's a good one.
But yeah, what's next?
Alright, you want to delve into the Kanye quest?
Yeah. Do we need dice? Do we need magic dice that I bought?
We don't quite yet.
Is that next week?
That's next week.
Can I hold the dice in my hands?
Yeah.
So I can feel important?
You can fondle the dice.
Ooh, these are some. Let's have some ASMR here.
Are you ready?
Clicky. Yeah. I'll leave these dice here.
Close your eyes.
Okay. I'm imagining.
You and Kanye continue your treacherous journey up the rocky mountainside. You two have been scaling nearly vertical cliff sides for the past 2 days, stopping only for meals and to sleep. Your hands hurt from gripping rocks for so long, but Kanye's occasional smile keeps you going. The air is getting thinner and thinner as you climb. As you near the peak, your head feels really light. You see Kanye's hand reach down and grab yours, and then darkness. When you come to, you're lying in a bed surrounded by brick walls. A faint light comes from beside your bedside. You get up slightly dizzy, only to realize you're attached to a machine made of stone. The machine whirs and hums, seemingly enchanted by some sort of magic. You're wearing a mask on your face, presumably for breathing. You take it off and follow the light into the room where Kanye sits at a table with many men and women in long robes. Kanye walks over to you, looking relieved. You pass out from lack of oxygen, he tells you. Luckily, the good people here at Skyvale University have taken you in while you recover. A man with an extremely long beard walks over to you. You study his face. He seems to have no wrinkles, despite having stark white curly hair. He wears glasses on the end of his nose. As you get a closer look, you're startled to see he has no eyes. He bows to you, speaking. "My name is Claudio," he says warmly. "I'm the headmaster here at Skyvale. Your friend here, Master West, has stumbled upon us in the clouds. We have good news for you. You're now enrolled as students here." You look at Kanye skeptically, who looks at you. "It's the least you can do for our hospitality," Claudio says. "After all, a university needs students to run." "Come on, let's get some rest," Kanye says, motioning towards the door. "Thank you again, Claudio." That night you lay in your bed in the dark with a feeling in the pit of your stomach. Something seems seriously wrong with the situation. How long would you have to be at Skyvale? What kinds of things would you learn? You get absolutely no sleep that night.
That's it?
That's it.
Okay. This is taking a weird turn. I don't know how I feel about it.
I thought you were supposed to be holding these.
No, I did some ASMR for a second for the audio listeners, and then I just gave them back to you.
Oh, thanks.
Because I didn't want to take them out, because then I didn't want to have to drop any and pick them back up. Okay, you ready to actually get into some history?
Well, let's do it.
Okay, so right after I'm Good, Kanye West's second mixtape, he was continuing to craft his first studio album for Rockefeller Records. The college dropout. He kept on delaying it to perfect it. When the album was finally completed, it was leaked online a couple months before its actual
release. What the heck,
date.
guys?
During this period, Kanye kept on tweaking the album, which shows off his almost need for perfection, and it's something that will actually see out throughout his entire career, especially in more recent memory with The Life of Pablo, constantly making edits and changes to that as the months after the album was released. And a couple tracks were actually cut from the leaked version of from the College Dropout. Actually, Keep the Receipt featuring Old Dirty Bastard, and The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly featuring Consequence were both tracks that were cut. I've actually never heard Keep the Receipt featuring Old Dirty Bastard, and it's something that actually
I haven't either.
My experience with Old Dirty Bastard is I respect him, but I haven't actually heard a lot from him other than Killer Collect. Okay, that's enough JPEG Mafia for one episode. In January 2003, Kanye West dropped the Louis Vuitton Don.
Did you say Louis Vuitton?
Louis Vuitton.
Louis Vuitton.
Louis Vuitton Don. Which is pretty much similar to I'm Good, so that's why I didn't include it on this Kanye Quest. It's pretty much a lot of the same material that was covered on I'm Good or Get Well Soon, and I don't think it was really needed to the necessary history. I feel like we needed to cover some of Kanye mixtapes, not all of them. There was like 6 or something that I ended up cutting that I feel like weren't necessary, and that was one of them. The College Dropout was supported by 5 singles. The first being Through the Wire, which we first heard on Get Well Soon, just the story of Kanye West's car accident.
That it came up here.
The first single to be X, followed by Slow Jams, which featured Jamie Foxx and Twista. Then All Falls Down, Jesus Walks, which is pound for pound the
best track around.
Pound for pound, Kanye's most influential track.
For sure.
And maybe his most important, maybe his best. And then The New Workout Plan, which I view more as like an MTV music video single than like an actual.
Absolutely, this was made for teenage girls to get on MTV and shake their beeps.
I just see more as like a MTV comedy video than anything else, because the music video that was made for it was like 8 minutes long. It was longer than the actual fucking song, and it just goes on forever. This album was supported by the way, the singles that were released to this album, fantastic compilation of just tracks to showcase this entire album. You got some of the slower songs, slow jams obviously, but then you get the more catchier moments. Through the Wire, which even is a breathtaking story. Jesus Walks, which is supremely catchy, but also a breathtaking story. All Falls Down, The New Workout Plan, which is just a giant joke, but it actually has these like moments to it, which I want to talk about a little bit later. This album was actually supported by 7 music videos. Through the Wire, Jesus Walks, which had 3 versions, All Falls Down, New Workout Plan, in 2 words. The personal ones I recommend that you watch that I feel like are actually necessary out of this, or as a film student,
all 3 Jesus Walking.
The third I think is the best, where it's just Kanye and Jesus walking around doing miracles, or it's more Jesus, I think, in Kanye's head. Walking around as Kanye performs miracles. It has a very gritty black and white style, which I personally really enjoy, and it just seems the more natural of all the music videos. The rest of the music videos just seems kind of cliche, or they feature some weird CGI that I don't personally care for, but the Jesus Walks, it just seems natural Kanye. It combines like what I liked about the first version of Jesus Walks, which is Kanye preaching to a choir, which happens at the end of the music video, but it just adds its natural grittiness. And then 2 words with Tab Kweli and Mos Def, it has just this like very gritty style, very gritty color palette, which I like. I don't know, I just really, really enjoy it. Okay, that is College Dropout. What did I like about the project? I've always liked the College Dropout, but I've always kind of thought it was overrated. In my personal opinion, I thought later projects such as Graduation and 808 and Heartbreaks have been extremely underrated. And being like a little nerd like I am, I always viewed College Dropout not as bad or anything like that, but I just felt like it was always overrated and overappreciated when compared to a lot of other Kanye's work, especially to Life of Pablo, which I still think is still overrated even years later after it's been released. Life Pablo.
You think it's overrated?
Underrated.
Oh, you said overrated.
I may have accidentally. But
it is very underrated.
Underrated. But I have the College Dropout on CD, and I've been listening to it a lot in my car recently, just having it on loop over and over again, and just listening to it. I don't know. I feel like it's actually worth the hype after listening to it a bunch, because it's always made me want to come back to it. There's tracks I always knew I liked about the College Dropout, but like I always liked All Falls Down and Spaceship and Jesus Walks and Through the Wire, But like I have appreciation for tracks I never really did in the first place for. Like I have appreciation for the skits now, which I think are just incredibly funny.
Yeah, where'd you go?
I have a new appreciation for the workout plan, the new workout plan, which I always fucking hated it. I always thought that song was atrocious until recently. I have appreciation for some of the more slower tracks or some of the more contemporary like tracks on this album, like Never Let Me Down or Get 'Em High. I have more appreciation for tracks like that. Overall, the unique personality of Kanye West that shines through on this album, the humor, but the ability to back up what he says is just what makes this great. I like Kanye always has something stupid to say or a joke to say, or he can say something completely bonkers, but he's always been able to back it up with great music throughout his entire career. Even on his weakest projects, which may be Yeezus, I feel like he's had tracks where he's able to put money where his mouth is. And I feel like not a lot of other artists can do that. Again, the humor that's on this project, all the skits with DeRay Davis are phenomenal, just as jokes, and they set up the songs like the intro where he's like sounding like Bernie Mac, and he's like, do something good for the kids, and then you
gotta write a song for the kids, Cody.
And then you get into We Don't Care, which is this like this beautiful.
I appreciate that song a lot more.
It's just such a beautiful opening track, and then afterwards, DeRay Johnson calls Kanye like an N-word. It just disses into him.
I'm calling the police.
Yeah, he says he's not gonna graduate, which I think it sets up this little like narrative arc that I think really works. And there's some satire, there's some political humor in there, and I think it actually works out really, really well. You get in after that, the skit at the end, the school spirit skits, which follows this like guy who's like. He thinks he's obsessed with the idea of going to school and getting a degree just so you think you're better than someone else. Yeah. Essentially, that's the best way I can put it. Just because you have the degree, you feel like you're better than everyone else.
He likes the idea of getting the degree.
And then his son is left with nothing but degrees after he dies, and he's homeless, but he has these degrees, and he's going to constantly go to school and learn and get these more and more degrees, and it's just this pointless cycle of just learning. Is it the best political satire? No, but I think it is funny. I think it is able to. It serves its purpose of just being humor. Is it a bit too long? Maybe, but I think it's personally really funny. A long time. And they blend well into the songs. The whole entire School Spirit blend into the School Spirit track, I think, really well. And then finally, the new workout plan, which is a giant fucking joke of a track. But Kanye's wild personality and humor mixed with great production creates something so insane. It's like so insane. Like it's like a comedy film with just like a dumb premise, just a completely fucking stupid premise. But it has great writing and great cinematography. That's not an example.
Yeah, it is.
But just like everything from the beats, just like how some of the jokes, some of the what do you call it? You support a product, so you're gonna have endorsements. The people that endorse the product in the middle. It's like, I'm Chevelle from Mobile, Alabama, and I just flew on a plane. Like
I'm going to Disneyland.
They're so stupid, but it's able to just be funny. I like Kanye's humor, especially in his rap verses, shine through a lot. Like having a party, who's invited. Your friends, my friends, and my dick, or something like that. I think it's just completely fucking hysterical. The vocoder at the end that sounds like Daft Punk and Michael Jackson is just great. The Kanye workout plan sounds like a robot.
It sounds exactly like Daft Punk.
It's great.
One piece of humor you didn't mention here that I absolutely love, Get 'Em High, where Kanye's trying to get this girl, and he's like, yo, I know Talib Kweli. This girl's like, you know Talib, I bump that CD in my room all the time. And there's like a little interlude, and then Talib's like, I can't believe that Kanye used my name, like pretended to know me to get some girl. It's so funny.
I think you mentioned that because I actually forgot about that. But yeah, there's a lot of good moments on this album. We Don't Care, the opening track, just So catchy. Drug dealing just to get high. There's not a
I don't know why this isn't a single. I don't get why that didn't make it.
Why was like half this album not a single? Why was Spaceships not a single? Why was like all of this album?
Why was School Spirit Skit 2 not a single?
Yeah.
What the heck?
Yeah. But there's like, this album has so many hooks that just hit. We don't care. Drug dealing just to get by just is engraved in my head over and over again. You get into All Falls Down. Just breathtaking. Just, can you do it, or should I do it?
Do it. I want to hear you.
That's terrible. I will never. Jesus Walks, one of Kanye's hardest, most political edge tracks. Definitely where he was politically at the time. Definitely where music was politically at that time. And I thought it was nice, both in religion aspects and more in race aspects. I thought that was a really, really well-crafted track that's catchy as all get up. Is one of his most... It's honestly maybe his best track.
I wish you would have said that to wrap up, because I've got like a little bit of a point to make from that.
Spaceship, another hook that just absolutely nails Kanye, talking about his time working at the Gap. Is
Baby Gap.
Just fantastic. And the hook, again, fucking nails. Through the Wire, which we talked about in Get Well Soon, it was also on Good. Kanye in the car accident, how he's able to rap with his jaw wired shut. The instrumental that's completely fucking amazing. Through the Wire. Again, complete fucking earworm that gets stuck in your head over and over. This album just gets engraved into your head. It's absolutely fantastic. I think Kanye actually shows a lot of personal struggle on that track, and it's great. What?
He's like the cow from Rocco's Modern Life. Through the Wire.
You done?
Yeah.
Family Business, which is another track that Chance the Rapper actually sampled on his acid rap mix tape. I think it's just very, very catchy, very personal. Works really well, and it's part of the last 3 songs in the album, which I think are just like some of my favorite moments on any Kanye album. Just that collection of 3 tracks at the end, just beautiful. And then The Last Call, another catchy track that goes into this very long Kanye introspection into his own career and how he came up, working with Jay-Z, working with No ID, becoming a rapper finally. It's just a great closing statement to the album. Which actually has a production credit from Evidence on it.
Yeah.
I always forget that's a thing.
He wrote for it and produced.
That's strange to me. The only track I don't like on this is Breathe In, Breathe Out. It's too generic, and I don't like
It's
Ludacris.
got Ludacris on it.
Yeah, so Ludacris needs to go away to Need for Speed. Or no, he wasn't Need for Speed. That's Kid Cudi. He needs to go to
Fast and Furious.
Yeah. I got my Kanye collaborators mixed up with racing movies. But yeah, this is a very stacked Kanye album, and I don't know why I never saw this album as being as good as it is. I've talked before about albums that I see as perfect. I've always seen like 3 albums as being perfect. I've seen David Bowie's Black Star, Mad Villain, Mad Villainy, and Kendrick Lamar's Two and Birdfly. This is not perfect, but it's very, very, very close. And I want to know, as we go further down this list of Kanye albums, what's going to be able to top it. Because in my mind, there's some stuff that, personally, to my taste, may be able to top it. But I don't know what will. I know Light Registration may have a chance. I know My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy might have a chance. Graduation, which is one of our personal favorites, might have a chance.
Pretty much every single Kanye album besides Yeezus.
Or 808s. I like 808s, but I don't think I have a personal chance. Yeah.
That's just how good the discography is.
This is a great record. Anything you want to have to say about this record before I move on to like a post segment?
I was going to just kind of wrap up discussion. We were talking about Jesus Walks. The fact that evidence of Jesus Walks appears, I feel like I'm talking about like an artifact.
Yeah.
The fact that evidence of Jesus Walks appears on Get Well Soon, appears on I'm Good. He made 3 music videos. Kanye he was never happy with the product until the final version of Jesus Walks On Here. And this may be his, like we said, this might be his most influential track. Kanye is a perfectionist through and through. It's seen with his album delays. It's seen with the fact that he was working on Jesus Walks On all this time. Even when he was a producer, he had this idea to make this song. And finally it came to fruition. It really just shows Kanye's evolution. He is always just the same. He's always continuously working on his songs, and I think that's part of what made the College Dropout, and really any Kanye album. The fact that any Kanye album has a chance to stand up and be better than the College Dropout, and we've just gushed over the College Dropout for the past 10 minutes.
Well, it deserves it.
It's so good, but the fact that any of his albums have the chance to be just as good as that, or if not better, just shows how influential of an artist he is. And, I've always loved Kanye, but this is just giving a new perspective to everything that he does.
Okay. So what happened after the College Dropout? College Dropout went triple platinum. It got 10. Kanye West got 10 Grammy nominations, 8 for the College Dropout, 2 for working on Alicia Keys' project You Don't Know My Name. Actually, no. I think it was called The Diary of Alicia Keys or something like that. I think I messed that up. But he ended up winning 3 Grammy Awards in 2005 one for Best Rap Song, 1 for Best Rap Album, and 1 for You Don't Know My Name, the Best R&B Song. Kanye West founded Good Music in 2004. John Legend, Common, and Kanye West were all initial artists. John Legend's Get Lifted was the first label's actual album release.
2004.
That's what I said.
Oh.
Didn't I say 2004?
Oh, I don't know.
Common's B was the label's second release, and the reason I want to mention this album, I feel this album's kind of underrated in a sense. Even though I'm not a huge Common fan, I do like this album a lot, because it does have, I don't know, I feel like even though West wasn't as active on this album or anything, I just feel like that flair, that style shows up on here.
Yeah.
And it's not even close to College Dropout or a lot of Kanye's work, but it still has that style. Tracks that I personally enjoy on that, the intro, B, which is fantastic, especially with the bass on it that starts everything off. Common's flow, even though I'm not a huge fan over it, his personal style, I think comes off really, really well. And They Say, which features Kanye West and John Legend. And then personal favorite, It's Your World Parts 1 and 2, which has production from Jay Dilla.
Whose world is
not
this?
that, which has production from Jay Dilla and Kareem Riggins. So Kareem Riggins and Common just released a new album recently with not Soundwave, someone else, I forget who, but I'll look it up in a second. But yeah, that album is very special to the Good Music label. It's very special to me because I feel like it's kind of underrated in a sense. But that's it. That's all that really happened. Overall, the rankings of Kanye West projects so far as they've been released: College Dropout, I'm Good, Get Well Soon. That's it for now. Will late registration next week be able to top it? I have no idea. I listened to it a bit earlier, liked how it sounds. I want to fully immerse myself with that album like I did with College Dropout, because I know that album has a lot of catchy moments as well. Okay, you done talking about Yeezy?
Yes.
What are you ready to move on to next?
Real quick review of Albert Hammond Jr.'s new album, Francis Trouble.
Dude, I love Damon Albarn.
I love that guy. Albert Hammond Jr. is the son of singer-songwriter Albert Hammond Sr., go figure. And he's actually, of course, the guitarist and backing vocalist of The Strokes.
Talk about his father, because I don't know much about him.
Okay, so his father, I don't know a whole lot about him, but one of the things I do know is he actually created, he wrote one of the weirdest choir pieces I've ever heard. I think it's for 7 or 8 voices. It was done by the King Singers, most notably, but it's called I'm a Train, and it's basically just a really fast-paced song with a lot of sound effects talking about how I'm a train. I'm a train. I'm a train. I'm a truck. I'm a train. I'm a train. I'm a truck. A train. Yeah.
I'm a train. I'm a train. I'm a moccasin. I'm a train. I'm a train. I'm a moccasin.
It's ridiculously fast and really fun. I didn't realize that he had written that song until I started doing research. But yeah, that was his dad.
Yeah.
Francis Trevor is Albert Hammond Jr.'s fourth album.
Fourth solo album.
Fourth solo album.
Again.
Main thought from this. Main takeaway, this is basically a good Strokes album. So basically, pre-Come Down Machine. Thank you.
Pre-Come Down Machine. Again, that's one of my main things about this album. It does sound like a Strokes album. I do like the Strokes sound. And because he's a member of the Strokes, I'll allow it. If he was just someone else, I don't think I would let it slide. But since he is an actual member of the Strokes, I'll let it slide. But at times, it's not like... I don't have a problem with it sounding like the Strokes, but I feel like almost at times, I'm just like... I feel like lyrically this album shines pretty well, but I feel like his vocal performances throughout kind of are just don't do it for me. And
he's not the lead vocalist, you know? He's no Julian Casablancas for sure.
And sometimes it just doesn't work for me personally. Some of the production sometimes just doesn't work for me. I don't really have too much to say about this album. My least favorite track on this whole entire fucking thing, the opening D versus L, just nasty sounding. Just like, it's not like super out there or anything. It's just super, it's like boring, it's generic, but it lacks all necessary soul, I feel, of any type. It seems like a very generic, like if you put like Strokes, if you clone the Strokes but then accidentally added like a generic top 40 gene to the DNA sample of the Strokes, and it just gave you this weird clone that has like disfigured and scarred all over. That's what the beginning track sounds like. It's not, I know it's a shitty metaphor, and that's pretty much my whole entire shtick at this point. It's just shitty metaphors. But it just doesn't sound good. It's not catchy. It's lyrically confusing. It's musically confusing as well. Like, I feel like I'm just lost when I'm listening to it, not in a good way. Like I'm just confused by the overall sound and tone when it's going for. It does not sound like a Strokes track. It sounds like someone ripping off the Strokes, which is strange coming from one of the members of the Strokes. Albert Hammond Jr. does sound a little bit like Julius Casablancas. A little bit too close.
He's just got a Strokes sound,
I guess. But like that
after so long, they start to
again. That doesn't really work against it, but it's something I have to point out. I feel.
Yeah.
What are the best moments of this? Pound for pound, Muted Beatings is one of the goddamn best and most catchiest songs you'll hear all goddamn year. Talking about this guy kind of internalizing his crush with someone and how much he's like suffering on these inside being around this girl, and how he's just low-key playing it off. I think it's fantastic.
Don't like the
yeah.
I love that song. It's so easy to catch. It's so easy to sing along to. It's catchy as all get out. I absolutely love this track. It's honestly one of my favorites of the year so far.
Yeah. Going on to, I think, other than that, nothing hits that level. And I was kind of let down by that. Like, nothing was able to stand up to Muted Beatings. And I was really let down by that. Not to say this album's bad, because I don't think it's personally as bad as some other albums. But I feel like this album's a lot about what I've read on it. It's a lot about persona. You got this Francis Trouble almost character. Francis Trouble is essentially the alter ego of Albert, who it comes from the idea that, or not the idea, it comes from that Albert was a twin and his brother died in the womb, or was combined with him in the womb, or some weird fact, and he always feels like Francis was a part of him. So it's kind of this like persona pops up through the entire thing of just kind of like, I get like an edgy teenager. These seem like teenage issues. Not to say that's a bad thing, but it seems like very coming of age-esque, which I do like that style. This doesn't seem like a guy in his like mid-30s or anything. I don't know how old Albert Hammond Jr. is.
He's 37.
His late 30s. It seems more like... It seems like shit, kind of like...
This is car seat headrest
headrest. Yeah, I was going to say Will Toledo, almost. Not as well written as Will Toledo by any means whatsoever, but kind of almost in that edginess, that like angstiness style that I get for it, and that's what I liked about this. He talks a lot about internalizing feelings for girls, or internalizing these... internalizing love, in a sense, and almost playing it off, or not getting this one girl. I forget what her name is. He mentions there, and I think... what was the track called? But he mentions, I think her name's Madeline. I could be wrong about that. Or Margaret. I forget which one.
Margaret.
But he mentions a lot about a lot of these, like, I don't know, teenage-like subjects or angsty-like subjects that I get throughout this entire project. And I feel like a lot of the production does sound like Strokes production, but sometimes the production isn't just able to hold up for me personally. And it just loses me. I want to know what you personally feel about this album before I feel like I've cut you off for too long.
No, that's okay. I'm a fan of the Strokes. Personally.
I think we're both fans of the Strokes.
I've been a fan of the Strokes. This is one of those bands that I grew up with, like the Killers, or I always go back to the Killers. But I feel like this album builds momentum easily. Mm-hmm. And that's just kind of what the Strokes do, is they make these really fast-paced, catchy guitar riffs, easily sung along to tracks. And that's what Albert Hammond Jr. is doing here, with the exception of D versus L. Continuing on, like, with the track list, Faraway Truths, into Muted Beatings, into Set to Attack, into T for Two, just consistently building momentum, but then all at once, Stop and Go just stops it. That's my least favorite track on the album. I always appreciate when artists try to slow it down if they're fast-paced artists. I'm basically like do the opposite of what they usually do, kind of get into new territory, but it just does not work. It doesn't flow. It's just not working here. Muted Beatings, for sure. My favorite track on the album. I also like tracks like Screamer and Rocky's Late Night.
I was hoping you were going to say it like that. Yeah. It's like playlist.
It's written like that.
Yeah.
But these are other favorite tracks on the album. As far as lyrics go, I like the songwriting. I like Muted Beatings, I think is a
it's just
great example.
Perfect.
It's really cool, like metaphorically, like this guy's just beating himself up over this girl and unrequited love. Like that's kind of what it feels like sometimes. You can't say anything.
Okay, so you're talking about Muted Beatings.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, basically Muted Beatings, I think is the huge, like that's the main takeaway of this whole album. Mm-hmm. Not to say it's not worth anything, because I ended up liking a lot of the tracks on here. Doesn't overstay its welcome. That was one thing about all the albums this week, were a very reasonable time. For sure. 35 minutes, 10 songs, not bad at all. Oh. I will eat that thing up in approximately 35 minutes.
That is the best joke you've made all year.
Thank you.
I don't know why I appreciated that one so much, but
yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Can I talk about my biggest problem with this album?
What?
Okay, the fact that the color scheme for this album art is red and green, when the Muted Beatings single art was yellow and like pink, and that's such a better color scheme than this really, ugly red and green. Like, I feel like at the end of the year, this Francis Treble album art may go on my year-end like worst list for worst album
all
art.
Of the singles had the same album.
But like, here's the thing: the color palette
artwork
was good.
And color palette, it was good.
Like, I like that color palette, but like red and green do not go at each other unless you're like making like a Christmas card.
This is his Christmas card for you.
Oh, I was like 3 months late, buddy.
So yeah, overall, Francis Trouble, fun, pretty. I mean, I enjoyed it as a rock album. I enjoyed it songwriting wise. I enjoyed just kind of having a vessel in which to experience the Strokes in their prime form. So I'm gonna have to give it. Look through my other reviews here.
Oh, yeah. Okay. How does it feel?
I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10.
I think I'm going to have to do the same. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10 as well. What are my complaints for this? It's not really a complaint. I'm glad that we get to revisit the Strokes. But I feel, and I do like the songwriting as this, but Alvin Hammond Jr. is just not like a strong enough songwriter or singer at times. It feels like some of these tracks, they blend well together, but they almost blend too well together.
Yeah,
if I would have to say so.
Like I was talking about, like it builds momentum like very easily for rocks. I mean, for albums like Young Fathers, Cocoa Sugar, that all blend together, it works. For Igloo Ghosts, Neo Wax Bloom, it works, but for rock albums like this, it doesn't. Each song needs to be its own identity and have its own defining features. And some of them don't, but some of them, when they hit well, they hit really well. Like I said, Muted Beatings, one of the best tracks I've listened to all year. So definitely check it out. This is a solid 7 out of 10 material here. Mm-hmm.
I would recommend you listen to it as well. Definitely Muted Beatings. Ooh, and I think Faraway Truth is actually a good single. Probably. I
like Faraway Truth.
It's like
to Attack's not bad either.
It's like the most Strokes, I would say.
This has the biggest Strokes out of anybody.
Any Strokes.
Good work, everybody.
This is the first Strokes album we're receiving this year. We're getting the Julius Casablancas and the Voids. Oh, no, it's just the Voids now. I forgot.
So literally every member of the Strokes is going to be releasing. I hear the Strokes' manager is actually going to release an album.
When is the gaffer for the Strokes going to release an album?
Fleetwood Mac has already run their course.
That's the merch booth. Get it right. Okay, you ready? Okay, I'm gonna set it here. We're gonna do speed review. Ready for this?
Please.
Okay, because I don't think I could say anything that it really, just like, I don't know. I'm just really indifferent to this album, so I'm gonna set a timer for 5 minutes. This is like the new segment for albums like this, because I don't want to like. I don't know why we reviewed this last. It's probably a poor decision on our part, but we're gonna spend like 5 minutes on this and nothing more, and we're gonna cut it there. As soon
and
as
then we're done.
As soon as
I'm going home,
and then you're gonna go to bed.
I'm going to bed
because you're grounded, Mister.
Oh shoot.
Shucks. So I'm gonna start the timer, and once the timer's up, we're gonna give our final scores on it, and that's it. That's it for this episode. Okay, you ready?
Okay, let's do this.
Okay. Do the intro for Kraus.
Oh, shit.
You're wasting time. You're wasting valuable time. How are we gonna finish this review in time?
I don't care.
I don't care.
I don't care. Okay, so Kraus is a band. I lost it. It must not have saved on the Google Doc. Kraus is a band. They sound like sauerkraut. They're not super good at singing. And they made this album called Painting With. Path.
Not Painting With. That's Antimal Collective.
I know.
Antimal Collective. Oh no, we're wasting time. We've already wasted 40 seconds.
Phantomal Collective. Yeah, so Kraus made this album called Path. It's got some really kind of questionable album artwork. I didn't really like it.
Album art's okay in my opinion.
Essentially, Kraus sounds like orchestrated rock. So like think the Trans-Siberian Orchestra I don't know if like that's a whole world thing, Trans-Siberian Orchestra. That's an Ohio thing for sure. Think the Trans-Siberian Orchestra if they made borderline metal music.
Think the Trans-Siberian Orchestra if they just had a bunch of guitar distorters. Just a bunch of distortion on their music.
There's one guy with a guitar, and for every one guitarist in the Trans-Siberian Orchestra, there are 15 distorters that back him up. Behind every good guitarist is a good guitar distorter behind, like waiting by his side, to love him when he comes home. I'll be so happy to keep
You're wasting
his
time for
dinner
this
warm.
Wasting time. We only have 5 minutes for this review.
I don't care.
Okay.
I'm wasting time.
This album is Andrew WK Part 2 for me personally. The reason I say that is
Except for it's worse than Andrew WK.
no, it's definitely worse than Andrew WK. Andrew WK.
I like you, Andrew WK.
We like you. Just need to dry off. You just too wet. We need to get you a towel.
We tried, and you just won't take it.
You just shook it off like a dog and then got back in the pool.
And then, got back in the pool and come out, and all the water droplets are just he's not even wet. It's like he jumped in Vaseline and then got in the water.
So basically, this album just sounds like the Trans-Siberian Orchestra. The main vocalist of Kraus, whose name we are totally unprepared for.
His name is
Sauerkraut. Literally,
I feel like his name's Austin.
Literally gives this passionate performance, but like halfway through, past Reach, he just forgets how to like passionately sing and just becomes annoying. He just becomes painful. Just like we shit on King Cruel, but King Cruel sounds like fucking
Pavarotti.
King Cruel sounds like Brittany Howard compared to this. Like it's just not good. It's like passionate. I'll give him that, but it like the lyrics of this do not matter because you cannot hear them. The mixing of this is pretty piss poor. The first 5 tracks are okay at best. Reach is a good track. I will give it that. I like that as a single, and that's why I wanted to review this.
There's a track called Bum.
The intro, Figure, which is kind of experimental.
It's very like grandiose industrial rock.
But it's too long for its own good, and it's the only track without lyrics, and I don't really see the point. It just loses me, and I thought it was going to be a really good like setup for Reach, but then Reach is only like in the middle of the album, and all the other tracks sound like Reach, but just like not as fun. Like Reach is like just like somehow they got the mixing and like the songwriting and the performance right on Reach, and they just fucked up on the rest of these tracks. Like this album is too distorted, it's too passionate, but it's like uncaring passionate, just where it becomes annoying. The lyrics do not matter because you cannot hear them. Yeah, I do not like this record. I feel like it's too much of the same. It's super repetitive. At least I like some of the sounds on this, but after halfway through the album, I've heard everything that needs to be heard. There's one track I will listen to Path after this. Like I still enjoy that one track out of this entire thing. And that's it. That's we're coming down to 32 seconds. Like, what else do you have to say?
I don't have anything to say.
We gotta kill these 32 seconds.
All right.
I promise 5 minutes of review and then scores. Okay. Don't play Incidental Boogie. That's copyrighted. Copyright flag.
I was gonna play the Six Flags sound effect.
Okay, we got 5 seconds.
Okay, are you ready?
3, 2, 1, 3.
Okay.
3 out of 10.
You gave it a 3?
3 out of 10.
Okay, I'm probably going to have to give it a 3. I was originally going to go to 4, somewhere between Huncho Jack and Just For Us by Francis and the Lights, but then I realized I would probably listen to Francis and the Lights over this.
You ever listened to an unfinished project before this?
Yeah, I think so. It's ahead of Camila Cabello, though.
I would give this... I was going to give this a 4.5, but then I realized Andrew WK put in way more work than this, and I actually like him.
You must be punished.
And I would actually like to give Andrew
Kraus.
WK, but I don't like Sauerkraut. Do not like this album. I will listen to...
I would listen to the song from the Six Flags commercial again. That's my final thoughts.
Yeah, but I would listen to Reach again. I think that is a good single, and it may go on my year-end list because I do enjoy that track, but this album's really underwhelming. Do not like it. Do not care for it. We don't have much to say. We were not prepared for this review because we just did not like it. This is Soft Moon all over again, except for Soft Moon. We actually remember the main guy's name, whereas this, we just didn't give a fuck.
It's Kraus. His name is Kraus. Anyway,
isn't that one of the kids from the series of Unfortunate Events?
Yeah.
Oh, I remember.
What the heck?
That'll teach him.
Anyway,
Kraus make better music.
Next week,
Trevor will text his girlfriend for the entire episode. I'm snapping at you, boyo. I see you over here. Tell your girl to saddle up her pointy ass.
No.
I don't know what that means. So don't tell her that.
Next week, we're going to be taking a look at Mount Erie's new album, Now Only, coming off of A Crow Looked at Me.
It was on both of our year-end lists.
Yeah.
It was very sad, and I'm surprised we're getting new materials.
Yeah.
I haven't heard really. I want to like listen to this. In
I don't know
full.
what this is about. Really.
Like I didn't listen to singles to A Crow Looked at Me. I'm glad I didn't, because that's like a cohesive project.
For sure.
This I feel like will also be a cohesive project.
We're also be looking at Bishop Nehru's new album, Elevators, Act 1 and 2.
Act 1, I'm pretty sure, is produced by Kate Tronada, who's a fantastic producer.
Great producer.
Act 2 may be produced by Doom, or at least there's a track
Yet
produced.
to be announced, really.
I'm unsure. I haven't really looked at the track list for that.
After that, everybody's coming over to David Byrne's house.
He's got, like,
American
everyone's
Utopia.
just coming over. It's just too many people at his house. Except for us, we weren't invited, so fuck him.
I'm not going to
The days go by.
You got a 0. And the water flowing up.
You know,
Kermit the Frog song.
How much do you think tickets to see David Lynch are at Rose Music Center?
David Byrne? I have no idea.
Why did I say David Lynch?
I don't know.
Pretty much the same person, right?
After that is the long-awaited Lil Yachty's Lil Boat 2. And then Logic released.
We review Anthony Fantano's new record.
Yeah, Anthony
Bobby
Fantano's. Bobby Tarantino too. That kind of just dropped out of nowhere, so we're also gonna check that out. Continuing on with the Kanye Quest.
Oh wait, get the fuck out of here!
It's done there.
Get the fuck out of here! You're my new savior.
Late registration.
Yeah.
Whoa!
That's not from that album.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, what are you trying to do? I thought you were trying to do All Falls Down.
No.
What were you doing?
Can't tell me nothing.
Oh, that's not from that album either.
Yeah, it is.
No, it is. It's a
Can't Tell Me
graduation.
Nothing is on every single album. Yeah, it is.
There's a mixtape called "Can't Tell Me Nothing."
It's on
so you're
every
wrong
sing-
even
it's
twice.
on every single
You have two
album.
options to get right.
I'm gonna change every Wikipedia page. Because it's on there. Until next time, guys, make sure you like our Facebook page. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Subscribe to us on YouTube, Podbean, Stitcher, Google Play Music, iTunes, and Spotify. If you want to submit a question for next week's episode, there's a link in the description if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook. And if
Are you King Crow for that?
yeah,
Do you have
I have depression. Otherwise, you can talk to your doctor and submit a question to him. If you like our theme song, it's produced by our big friend DJ Quest. Our intro song is called No Sleep. Our outro song is called Reply. Links to the songs in the description. If you're watching on YouTube and Facebook, depression. This has been episode 30 of the Anthony and Todd Show, an episode we would like to call a series of unfortunate Kraus albums. Thank you.
No.
Yeah.
I'm not welcoming you for that. If you're trying to get a "you're welcome" out of me, you can kiss my ass.
All right,
That's-
well, what do you want to call it?
I don't have anything better.
All right, then it's a series of unfortunate Kraus albums. And that is final.
Until next time, guys.
I will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.